bridge collapsed. The mountain road washed out. All the signs are obscured by fog. Your only directions are detours. Eventually it dawns on you. Sometimes you need to get lost to discover where you're supposed to be. Welcome to Merlin's Barn.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, Happy New Year, Happy Easter, whatever it is, and welcome to Merlin's Barn, broadcasting to you from Fort Blanket, south of the Yukon. Tonight we have with me, we have the two of me, because I've discovered I have two Facebook pages. So
the Free Merlin campaign worked.
The Free Merlin campaign worked, and
yes,
now
it's multiplied.
I don't know what to do with two accounts, because there's a bunch of enthusiastic people following the second account. So you've got Merlin and Merlin squared, and we have...
Tasha. That was bad.
You're fired.
That's fair.
Just keep running with it.
Nope.
And Matt,
end it now.
The other voice you keep hearing in the intro.
And then we have the silent partner in the background, who just waved.
Because that conveys an audio podcast.
Well, I had Tasha clapping quietly the last time, and I was just going, Tasha's clapping. I think that's when we were discussing the Monty Python cheese shop and its complete lack of cheese.
Are we going to add closed captioning to the podcast now?
Closed caption for the hearing impaired. Wait, it's a podcast.
That's you.
Now the other spouse is laughing.
All right, so we're going to start off with the usual misfortune cookies. The cookies of sadness, or whatever other things we've called them. Matt, do you want to start off?
Sure, I'll go first. Crinkle sounds. Since we've not pre-opened them. What do we have here?
It's because some of the audience can't hear the actual crinkling, so we describe the sounds to them.
Exactly.
I'm sure this makes sense somewhere.
Onomatopoeia.
Once again, not of fortune. There is no wisdom greater than kindness.
There's no what?
Wisdom greater than kindness.
So I should stop kicking people.
Yes.
Okay.
Only if you're looking for more wisdom.
My therapist told me that was bad. Tasha, you want to do yours?
Sure. Let's see.
Where you just popped it.
Thank
Crinkle,
you.
crinkle, little cookie.
You understood.
We're never getting this cookie.
No, we're not. This is... Oh, goodbye.
Mouse food. There's cookie on the floor.
Cookie down.
Embrace the magic of positivity. It will bring your dreams to life.
Oh Lord, that's with the waves gently lapping in the background.
Nope, this isn't eat one. I'm gonna eat this.
Is that on like a stock photo for sale, like in Hobby Lobby?
Yeah, it sounds like one of the ones that should be hung in a hallway.
I ate the paper.
Which Cody tried to hang one of those. So one of the running pranks around the barn is what can we hide in the barn or put up in the barn and see if Merlin notices it. Recently, the brochure magazines for a trip to Indiana, which I think have been here for 6 months now, that I just noticed. But another one was one of those boat on a beach front, and it had some little happy quote below it. And as soon as I found it propped up in a corner, it's like, this is somebody's failed prank.
Matt, was that you or Cody who put the magazines out?
That was Cody.
That was Cody. Do we remember how long ago that actually was? I think it might have been a year.
It's been several months. It's been a long time, and they've been on the coffee table,
I know.
in the living room.
They just look like other magazines. I kept putting things on top of them.
Yeah, you did.
Well, and if somebody got me a despair, what were they called? They're despair.com. What are the quotes on that called?
The
demotivational.
The motivational posters.
Yeah.
If you want to laugh your butt off and you have dark humor, which you must have if you've survived more than 2 episodes of this show, you should go to despair.com. They have the most wonderful demotivation posters that look just like the ones you see in businesses. And when my brother-in-law left a business 15 years ago, the 2 weeks before he left, he said in the evenings he went through and slowly replaced the motivational posters with despair posters instead.
I have actually seen those in some offices overseas.
People don't realize what they say.
Oh no, they know what they said. Down the entire hallway of the office, both sides. There's a half dozen of these.
That's wonderful. All right, so I've got my cookie.
Cookie.
And it's learn Chinese. Oh wait, no, that's the wrong side. Why do I always get one with a day? I mean, last time it was like a Wednesday, and I was like, this is Wednesday, and it's 7:30, and I haven't done this.
Today is Tuesday.
Well, yeah, well, this is Thursday now. This Thursday, take a moment to appreciate the beauty around you. Whereas tomorrow, I should kick people all day.
A couple weeks ago, I had a Thursday one.
Yeah, you're right. What is with Thursdays? I haven't gotten a Monday one yet. Maybe they just realized everybody hates Thursdays. I'm concerned. I always have concerns. All right. So tonight, we are bringing to you, definitely not live because it happened over 100 years ago, the joy, the excitement of the 1904 Summer Olympic Marathon. But more specifically, what's the fellow's name again?
Oh, Felix Carvajal.
Felix Carvajal, and his story, brought to you by one of Matt's deep dives. So you'll get us in rotation telling the story and being confused and running commentary on it.
Yeah. So, okay, the 1904 Summer Olympics, they're held in St. Louis, Missouri, in conjunction with the St. Louis World's Fair, or more correctly titled the Louisiana Purchase Exposition, the centennial celebration of the Louisiana Purchase. So, I'm going to start by saying that without any doubt, this marathon was the strangest in Olympic history. And I don't just mean by modern standards, and when looked at through a historical lens, it wasn't so weird. No, it was batshit crazy even then. For starters, it was held on August 30th, with the race not even starting until 3 in the afternoon. Newspaper accounts reported the temperature around 90 degrees already. So I found the official temperature recorded that day by the weather station was 86. The humidity was not recorded at the time, but the average humidity in St. Louis in the summer is 62%, putting the heat index, or your real feel, at or around 100 degrees. The race organizer was testing purposeful dehydration, so there were only 2 water points on a 24.85 mile course. The course was not.
Wait a second. He was doing what again?
Testing this hypothesis of purposeful dehydration.
And you're going to explain that, right?
I didn't research that one further.
Okay, so folks, if you know about this, email us in because, wow, that sounds like a bright idea.
Yeah.
I mean, just saying this is part of the era of, like, human experimentation and figuring out the limits of the human body. So, like...
It's not the Middle Ages, though.
But we have technology. We can measure these things now.
I'm upset. Okay, keep going.
Yeah.
Innovation.
Sorry, but that's not even the strangest thing that happened. Like, that was almost normal compared to some of what comes up. So, yeah, 24.85 mile course, only 2 water points. And the course was not closed, so the runners had to dodge trolleys, trains, onlookers, and the occasional motor car.
This should be a video game.
It's just like a high-level
survival marathon.
Next level Frogger.
Yes.
Race officials were in cars leading and behind, causing a near constant dust cloud. The weather records do include rainfall or the lack of, only a trace that day, and none for the several days prior. So it was a dusty race.
Oh my God.
On open roads with just cars, horses, trains.
If you've never dealt with something, I mean, we've done this in like open Jeeps.
Mm-hmm.
Of driving on gravel and dirt and sand roads after like weeks with no rain, and it's miserable. But we still do it for a hobby for some reason.
So there's 32 entrants. Only 15 of them even finished the race.
That's sad.
The first of those 15 was with the help of hitching a ride in a car. Initially, just as a way to return to the stadium, when the car broke down, he jogged across the finish line. So, yes, this did disqualify him, unlike the actions of the man next across the line, who was declared the winner, who was fed strychnine.
Because that's a good idea.
Yes, that's strychnine, rat poison, which in small doses is apparently a stimulant. Who knew? So it was a mix of strychnine, raw eggs, and brandy by his trainers during the race, who also carried him across the finish line while he pedaled his legs in the air.
I feel like that's worse than hitching a ride. That's worse than hitching a ride.
Was he hallucinating at that point that he was actually running, or did they just sort of feel like that looked like he was running enough?
Oh, he definitely was hallucinating. Yeah. He had laid down thinking he had 20 more miles to go when his finish line was within sight. It was, yeah. He was in
dear.
real bad shape. But yeah, somehow he won by just being carried across the line while he pedaled his legs like he was running.
I feel like that should be a foul.
That's what I say. This race, I mean, the fact purposeful dehydration was a minor point. Like
Purposeless dehydration, rat poison,
there were two
pedaling.
There were two last-minute entrants were actually Boer War veterans. They were message runners from South Africa who were there as part of the exhibition, which that's a whole nother thing about just...
Can of worms.
Yeah. That's a whole other topic.
Historical treatment of people.
Yeah. There was like a display village and stuff.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Gross.
We got their names there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, and I am certainly going to butcher these names, but I'm going to try.
I go Len Tanyane.
I'll go with that.
And John
Marciani.
That's the best I can do.
Okay. So Tanyani might have placed higher than his 9th place time had he not been chased off course for a mile by a pack of feral dogs. So yes, trains, motor cars,
feral dogs.
So he still placed 9th after of the 15 people who even finished, and was off course for a mile. So he may have actually won if he wasn't dealing with a pack of dogs. Oh, and he was barefoot.
I would say the lack of shoes should jump him up a few numbers right there.
And I'm assuming it's dusty, but the ground's still got to be hot.
Yeah.
At least they're not on blacktop, though, because that has to be mostly
that was my first thought.
So the person I want to get to really is the 4th place finisher. And he's the hero of this story, which is Felix Carvajal, who took a nap during the race and still finished 4th place.
Was that because he had strychnine too?
No, I think we're going to get to it later.
Okay.
Some apples or peaches, I think it was.
Ooh.
Labyrinth moment.
What's that?
Peaches.
Peaches.
Napping and peaches.
Napping and peaches?
Labyrinth.
Oh, okay. And for those who don't know, Labyrinth, the David Bowie movie.
Starring David Bowie. It's by Jim Henson.
By Jim Henson with lots and lots of Muppets. Watch it. It's wonderful.
Goblins.
Muppets.
Well, yes.
Muppet Goblins. Okay.
Apparently.
All right. So, before we get to Carvajal, I want to briefly give some context to the race. Almost any historical story, when viewed through our modern eyes, can come off as absolutely crazy. Isn't that why we do this podcast? It doesn't even have to be historical. It can just be what Merlin did last week.
Yeah.
Or any of us, for that matter.
Well, that's just it. So we take the stuff that is still crazy, regardless, historical or not.
Yeah.
Which this one is.
Yes, this is definitely just like in the batshit nut job crazy land. Okay, I stand by the earlier statement that the 1904 Summer Olympic Marathon is right up there with the craziest, but some understanding of the fair and the Olympics at the time is helpful. This was only the 3rd modern Olympics. Now we're used to them popping up on TV every 2 years, et cetera, and huge stadiums being built and such like that. But as a 3rd one, events, schedules, locations were all still to be sorted out. The length of the marathon was not settled on the 26 miles of today. That's why the course was 24.85 miles. This Olympics was held in conjunction with a World's Fair located in the middle of the United States at a time before air travel and in the midst of the Russo-Japanese War. Therefore, the overwhelming number of participants were Americans. The games were not held one after the other over the course of 10 or 14 days, but over the several weeks of the fair. And, probably most important to our story, the games were very strictly amateur. Not the amateur of today where professional athletes step away to play. Not the amateur of the medal races with the Soviet Union where Russian athletes were state-sponsored, dedicating their lives to the sport. Truly amateur.
No. The concept of the Olympics being amateur competition was strictly enforced. The 1912 Olympic pentathlon and decathlon?
Yep.
Yeah, decathlon. Champion Jim Thorpe was stripped of his medals when it was discovered that he had played semi-professional baseball before the Olympics. This is the same Jim Thorpe that went on to be a football star, correct?
Yes, and this
I think so.
I believe it's the same Jim Thorpe it's the same Jim Thorpe that Jim Thorpe, PA is named after.
One of my favorite little towns.
My students recently discovered, and we're having a big discussion about one morning.
I love that.
Yeah, I love the things they come up with.
So he wasn't playing baseball at the same time. It wasn't even remotely related to the marathons he was running. But because it was semi-professional, he was stripped of his medals.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be that the athletes held other full-time employment and either scrounged up money to bring themselves to the competition or were sponsored by athletic clubs. Fred Loers, the one who hitched a ride in a car, later would win the Boston Marathon. He was a bricklayer who trained at night. Oh, in a time before the 40-hour work week. Alas.
This guy must have been a monster. Like, he was a bricklayer all day long and with like 12 or 14-hour days, and then he was running marathons at night.
That's insane. That also is somebody who I guess can exist on what, 1 hour sleep or something.
Lucky. I can't even run
There's
on
some
8.
people can do that. I mean, my dad can go like who can do like the 36 hours straight of working on something thing, and I'm sitting there going, how are you not hallucinating? Maybe you are hallucinating, and that's what's getting you through it. I don't know.
True amateurs is how we get to a mailman from Havana, Cuba, running the race in hard shoes and street clothes. A fellow runner took pity and with some scissors cut his trousers into shorts before the start of the race. Many accounts describe Carvajal as having arrived in St. Louis penniless and hungry after hitchhiking for 2 days from New Orleans. But this didn't dampen his spirit. Felix loved to run.
Yep. So, Felix Carvajal. He was born to an impoverished family living in a town near Havana in 1875. Felix's first win was at age 14. He beat out a well-known long-distance Spanish runner in an all-day race around the perimeter of his hometown, San Antonio de los Baños. Some of these early races were measures of endurance rather than speed. Such was the case with this one. Our hero did not stop running for 11 hours, 2 hours after the last competitor gave up. So that's this guy. He loves to run. He already won the race. He kept running for 2 more hours. Later, he was a courier in the Cuban War of Independence, reportedly running up to 30 miles per day delivering messages. So when it came time for the Olympics in St. Louis, Felix was in Havana and broke, with no way to pay passage to St. Louis. An appeal to the mayor for a ticket was refused. So Felix began running around City Hall Square all day long. Finally, the mayor was convinced that he had a real chance of winning the marathon and gave him passage with the Highlight team. Once in New Orleans, Carvajal was briefly employed at a Highlight Fronton, that's a Highlight gym.
What is Highlight? Do we know?
That is a sport somewhat kind of like lacrosse.
Do we need to look this up?
It could be a good idea.
We can look it up.
I don't know. If we look it up, we might lose our spaces.
So we'll circle back to what Highlight is. But when that gym closed, he was out of a job. Other papers indicate that he lost any money raised in Cuba for the race gambling when he arrived in New Orleans. A shadow that would come over Carvajal again in 1906. So, to run in the Olympics, Carvajal hitchhiked 2 days to reach St. Louis, then walked several miles across town to the start of the race. Then raced, all in his heavy trousers and brogans of his postman's uniform. The Cuban postal uniform trousers were surplus army pants, so nothing of his outfit was lightweight or suited to running. Oh, and he hadn't eaten in 2 days.
Did you find Highlight?
I think I have. It appears that this is a game where a ball is kind of like thrown against the wall, basically, at really, really high speeds, and they're being whacked with some sort of wicker scoop thing.
So it's like lacrosse and squash?
Yes, okay, I was wondering if I could compare it to squash.
Lacrosse squash!
Squash!
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's no longer an Olympic sport.
Okay.
I want to propose that my school take it up, though, because lacrosse squash.
I mean, it would make sense.
We're a lacrosse school. We have a
Yes, you
squash
are.
team. Why not mix them?
What could possibly go wrong with middle schoolers with squash, with wicker basketball, things and.
Well, it's my turn.
Yep.
Moving on from squash lacrosse. Carvajal's running style is a layer cake of eccentricities. Yeah, that's beautifully written.
Thank you.
Starting with the least odd behavior, he was rather loquacious. Reportedly during the marathon, he repeatedly would stop to chat with onlookers. Sorry, lost my space for a second. And even reportedly swiped some peaches from a car after the spectators would not give up their snacks to the hungry runner. Other accounts also refer to a peach or apple orchard where he had some more fruit. This time, overripe fruit led to some stomach cramps. I suspect this would have been peach season, as apples are usually harvested later. So it's possible if any orchard picking of overripe fruit occurred, it was peaches. In any case, the recurring theme of newspaper accounts is that stomach cramps led to a half-hour rest or nap. After coming in 4th place, not bad for taking a half-hour nap and running in 2-pound shoes, Felix freshened up and spent the evening taking in the fair at the expo, which is incredible when one reads how the gold medalist was nursed back to health over a few hours by doctors at the stadium and another runner never finished, having to be taken to the hospital. Newspaper accounts from the time don't give a full accounting of the health situation that day, but somehow the plucky 120-pound, 5'3" Cuban runs this insane race in street shoes after not eating for 2 days, takes a nap during the run, finished 4th, and still goes off to the fair afterwards for funnel cake and ice cream.
He's literally the same size as me.
We expect you to take up running.
Skating? Is
And
that close enough?
And as you read on, a lot of running.
If you run 24.85 miles, that's half the way to work in the morning.
No, thank you.
I'll just, maybe you start at midnight and I'll meet you at like 6. Tasha is not for this idea, apparently.
Nope.
No. Anywhoosie. Our hero's story doesn't end in August of 2004. No. He stayed in Missouri and ran in other races sponsored by the Missouri Athletic Club. Newspapers didn't make any mention of how he made any income, though. Not that 2 meals a day with coffee only in the morning meal, no smoking, no drinking requires much income, at least at that point. By all accounts, this is how
Felix
lived most of his life, running, working just enough to keep running. In 1906, he was to make another bid at the Olympic Marathon. In the intervening years, he ran various long-distance races. During a visit to friends in New York, Felix went out running beside the streetcars, where he was a resident sent to Bellevue as an insanity suspect for 3 days until his friends convinced authorities that he was not crazy, just really into running.
He's very dedicated.
Dedicated,
Yes.
yeah.
Bellevue, that was the state mental hospital, right?
Yes, it
I had a
was.
wheelchair from Bellevue at one point. Oh, because I have all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
I was about to say, how do I not know this?
It's currently at the World War I site. It's probably a whole other podcast episode. Keep going.
Don't stop now.
Okay. So, afterwards, he returned to Cuba and crossed the island multiple times. This time, with the backing of the Cuban government, Felix Carvajal. Why can't I say it? Carvajal. Felix Carvajal. This time, with the backing of the Cuban government, Felix Carvajal sailed for Athens, equipped with spiked running shoes, a personal trainer, and a sufficient budget for food and travel expenses.
Holy crow.
Here's the thing, though. He never made it to Athens.
That's not good.
No.
U.S. papers picked up and repeated the scant news from Cuban newspapers that upon reaching Italy en route to Athens, that Carvajal had died. Speculation at the time was that he was gambling with the wrong crowd and was either killed and robbed or simply killed because he was unable to pay his debts.
Oh. Yep.
Yeah.
There was I found very little information on that. There was some Washington Post had repeated had basically repeated like an obituary, but I couldn't find any regional source information. Probably because I don't have access to Cuban newspapers. Newspapers.com still has some limitations.
Yeah.
The May 1906 games are held in Athens with a long-distance race run from Marathon to the stadium in Athens. Yes, Marathon in Greece.
That's appropriate.
Yep. The name of the city is Marathon.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Battle of Marathon.
Yep, the long distance run is named after the city. Seems that way back in 490 BCE, there was a battle at Marathon against the Greek state by the Persians. Phidippides was a messenger who over 2 days covered 150 miles, literally running for help, delivering a message to Sparta. Later, he ran the 26 miles to Athens to announce their victory over the invading Persians. But here's the plot twist. Our story doesn't end with a quiet obituary in a Havana newspaper that was reported on by the Washington Post in June of 1906. Because some months later, Felix sailed on a Spanish steamer into Havana harbor, passed through customs with no luggage, and ran through town to a friend's house for dinner and a bed. Not long after, he was back in the race circuit going up against Henry Shelton, a professional long-distance runner from New York. The St. Louis Dispatch article doesn't say how long the race was supposed to be, but after 40 miles, Shelton gave up.
Oh my God! And so, and I know you've deep dived on this. There was no speculation or answer as to where he was during the time that he was dead for tax purposes.
Right, there's no information. Yes, he hopped like the Soto did. He spent a year dead for tax reasons. I
have ceased to. Which that was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. He disappeared. They had an obituary for him, and then he just sails back into harbor again.
As you do.
Because hey, that's what you do. All right. Carvajal went pro and continued to run into his 70s. At age 53, he was planning a San Francisco to New York run pushing a handcart. That long-distance run didn't occur, but over a week period, he ran 4,000 laps around the Manzana de Gomez building in Havana, a French shopping arcade inspired by is it Beaux Arts?
I think Beaux Arts.
Yeah.
Beaux Arts style building that occupies an entire block of the capital. January 27th, 1949, Felix Carvajal passed away at the age of 73. Moment of silence. Mere days after his last race, he died as he lived with very few material possessions, but running to the end. Reportedly, the last 20 years of his life was in a small shack below a bridge on the outskirts of Havana. And I'll tell you, I was the sport that I did when I was in middle school and high school was cross-country running, and I was just happy to make it through a 7-mile race, honestly. I mean, I didn't wake up in the morning going, God, I want to run. It was more, I don't want to play sports ball and get hit in the head again. So I ran. But to have this level of just drive and inspiration is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, you can search on whatever your podcast app is. There's lots of podcast episodes from various podcasts that have covered the 1904 marathon. But when I was reading about it, and I started reading about this postman who just shows up in like his hard shoes and his military surplus trousers, and having not eaten for 2 days, and then takes a nap during the race and comes in 4th place still. I'm like, I want to know more about this guy.
I remember when we were first discussing this, and then you said, I'm deep diving on this, and then it's just sort of, that wasn't an easy deep dive either.
No, it's, the newspaper's account really, newspapers.com account really helped with trying to dig into it.
And even if you had access to newspapers in Havana, it might not help just because of the lack of information of the time period.
Right, and so when we do have access, we had the conflicting reports about apples or peaches.
Yeah, you're right. Apples, peaches, getting them from cars, sleeping in fields, etc., etc. So, anybody have anything to add?
I'm scared of someone who can run that much.
I'm still thinking that you should run halfway to work and I'll pick you up.
As someone with no endurance, my lungs, my little alveoli in there, will explode.
Define bad. All right, folks. Thank you very much for listening to us once again. We question why you do it, but we're very happy that you do it. You're probably listening to us on Substack, but if you're on something like Spotify or what is it, Apple Tunes or something?
Yeah, Apple
Podcast, or any of the other delivery services, if you go to Substack under Merlin's Barn, you can subscribe. and if for free for emails and updates, or you can subscribe for like a little monthly payment to update equipment, make sure that we have food, things like that. It would be
I like
highly
surviving.
appreciated. What's that?
I like surviving.
I like surviving
And
too. And
stickers will be coming out soon for those people.
yes,
Right.
so and for people, yes, for people who subscribe in the paid manner, there will be stickers and other little goodies as we come up with them, and we're also going to start uploading items for uploading recordings for paid subscribers. Currently, we have one. Andrea Wilson, you're awesome. Thank you. We
Thank
love
you.
you. We hope to have many, many more. And I think that's about it. Should this inspire you to think of another story or some life experience that you want to share with us, as we keep saying, please send your stories to Merlin's Barn, MERLINSBARN @gmail.com. And you can also find us on Instagram under Merlin's Barn. And we sign off wishing you a
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, good day,
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. Take care all.